Hey Mandy, are you there? Are you even alive right now? I only ask because I know what a little weakling you are. But tell me, have you finally some man who is either pathetic or kind enough to get together with you? I doubt it. I mean, who in the world would ever want to marry a mindless little nitwit like you? Nobody will ever want to be with you ever again. Do you understand me?
Kenny, what is this all about? What do you want? You almost never message me, and now this is all you have to say? Did something happen? Can I help you with something? Is there a point to any of this at all?
Oh well, I see that you're still alive at least. And I also realized it had been quite some time since I had last talked with you. So I just thought I would reach out to you and see if you would respond to me. I suppose that you can say that I was just curious about what you were up to now that you're no longer with the man who was supporting you all this time. I sure hope that you're doing all right though.
Well, if you must know, I have since started a new job and I'm earning quite well. In fact, I'm even living with my new family these days, so there.
Wait a second, a new family? Does that mean you actually found someone who would want to marry you? Just who in the world would want to marry an ugly old hag like you?
You can say whatever you'd like, but I have a husband and I know that he loves me very, very much. And he doesn't say anything rude or mean about me. Besides, you all were the people who ignored me for 2 years of my life. I thought that I was going to be living with your family and getting to know them, and I never had anyone talk to me at all in practically that whole time. So you have some nerve saying that you were providing for me when you were expecting me to live in those conditions.
Oh geez, what is even your problem, huh? What did I do to you that you even complain about me while we were together? You had all those years to raise your voice and say something to me about how you felt, but you never once did you?
I don't need you to remind me of what it was like living with you, thank you very much. I can still remember all the pain that you put me through. And you're right, I didn't speak up and maybe I should have, but it's not like you couldn't see the pain that I was going through. But at least now I found a new family that appreciates and cares about me, so please just stay out of my life.
Excuse me? Do you really think that a stupid woman who is only good for cleaning up around the house and picking up after a man like you can talk to me like that? You're just lucky that you managed to find some dupe who you could fool into marrying you. Although I am sure that whoever you did convince to marry you is just some loser who probably barely makes any more at all.
Well, that just shows how much you know. You don't know what you're talking about at all. My husband is a lovely, caring man with a big heart of gold. He's made me feel things that you never did while we were together.
You're one to talk. You know, the only reason I wanted to be with you in the first place is because when we were married, at least you were still pretty. But then, after you and I got married and had kids and started taking care of them, it was just really all downhill from there on. And I was literally able to watch you get older and uglier day by day.
Well, maybe if you could actually see me aging in real time, it was only because you never ever did anything to help me out around the house. You never helped me clean up around the house, and you never offered to cook dinner for the family. You hardly ever spent any time raising the children. You wouldn't even bother learning how to change a baby's diaper, and I had to change every last one. I bet that you still don't know how to do that.
Well, the only reason why I don't know how to change a baby's diapers is because you never ever taught me how to change it.
Oh, please. We live in the age of the internet. If you really cared about learning at all, you could have always just looked it up yourself, especially at this point. And just why is it my job to teach you every little thing that you should have been trying to teach yourself before we had our kid? You're not a child. You're an adult, and you have to start taking responsibility for your actions, Kenny. Of course, I don't know why I'm bothering to even talk to you about this at this point.
You really just don't get it at all, do you? I was the husband, and you were the wife. Of course it was your job to show me how to do everything. Of course. Now you have another man. Maybe he's fool enough to get tricked into doing all the work that you should be doing. But I seriously doubt that an idiot like you would even know how to trick a man into doing that.
Just stop it already, Kenny. If this is all you have to say to me, then I think that this conversation is over. My husband is an amazing man, a real gentleman, and one of the sweetest people that I've ever met. So quit talking about him as if you know him, because you don't.
What? He's your knight in shining armor who came to rescue you from your sad little life. Give me a break. You're pathetic, and I bet that your husband is even more of a closer than you are.
If you're just going to keep insulting my husband and I, then I'm going to block your number, Kenny. Now, is there a point to all of this? Is there something that you actually wanted to talk to me about? Because I really don't want to spend any more time messaging you than I need to.
Actually, since you asked, there is something that I wanted to talk to you about. Well, something other than how sad your life is right now, of course. You see, my daughter is finally going to be getting married, and I want you to be there for her wedding.
Excuse me? Are you serious? Is that supposed to be some kind of joke or something? You really think that I'm going to go to that wedding? Why would I ever feel the need to do that? Of course I'm not going to go to the wedding. You completely ignored me the whole time we were married and never even let me be a mother.
Oh, come on. You don't know what you're talking about at all. It wasn't that bad, but fine. If it really matters to you at all, then I'm sorry my family and I completely ignored your existence for the 2 years that we were married.
You really think that I want an apology from you after all this time? Is that why you think I'm upset?
I mean, I assume so, yeah. But anyways, I apologize now, so everything should be okay, right? I mean, I said she's my daughter, but you are her mother, and you should be there for her, don't you think?
Why? What would even be the point of my attending the wedding after all the time? It would be meaningless.
Of course it wouldn't be meaningless. Like I said, you are literally the mother of the bride. You have to be at the wedding. Just think of how it will make Julie look to have only one of her parents there. What are her fiancé's parents going to think if they see that she comes from a family so broken that the parents can't even stand with each other for their daughter's wedding?
Did you really think that saying that is going to convince me to go to this wedding? Do you really think it's going to be that easy?
I really think that it should be anyways. I mean, personally, I don't think that you should really even be saying this is a good thing. You should be happy at having the chance to see your little girl go walking down the aisle.
You say all of this, but what does Julie think? Have you even asked her about this? Does she even want me to be there at her wedding?
Well, she said that having you there would be better than having no mom show up at her wedding at all. So you see, even though we all have ignored you for a while, you're still getting an invitation to the wedding. The only one holding any kind of grudge here is you.
As is my right to, thank you very much. And I'm not happy about this one bit, if you must know. I tried my best to make you and your family happy, to be whatever kind of wife and daughter-in-law that you wanted me to be. But despite all my hard work, you hardly ever let me be there for Julie, and in the end, you all drove me away.
Well, I'm sorry, but I really don't see how you can tell a story like that and not realize that you were just unfit to be a mother in the first place. But I think the fact that Julie is inviting you goes to show the kind of person that she is. She's trying to make up with her mother, so why don't you just let her have this?
I can't believe the ways that you're trying to fool me into doing this. Do you really think I'm going to go even after you've said all of that?
Oh, come on. This is our daughter that we're talking about. You don't want to let her down, right? Do you really want to go and tell her that her own mother doesn't want to be at her wedding?
I don't want you to tell her that, but I think that you're not being fair to me at all right now.
You really can be such a pain in the neck sometimes. Do you know that? This is Julie's way of trying to make it up with you, and you're spitting it back in her face. So what, we chased out of the house? That was a long time ago, and I've already said that I'm sorry for that. But Julie told me that she was going to try and message you herself, so I would stop being such a downer.
Did she really say that? Is Julie really going to message me soon?
Of course. In fact, she was the one who told me to reach out and tell you about this in the first place. So you better be at her wedding and make sure to bring a gift too. You know that weddings aren't cheap, right?
Oh, right. I guess if I do go to the wedding that I should bring some sort of gift for the bride and groom.
Cash will do just fine. Just make sure that you're ready to go to the wedding and look forward to finally taking your daughter again.
Right. Well, I won't lie. That does make me just the slightest bit excited to go to the wedding.
Great. Then I'll see you there. And you'd actually better be there.
Hey, Mom, are you there? I was just wondering if Dad hadn't already reached out to you. He told me he did, but he did also mention that I was going to be getting married, right? I just wanted to say that you better be there. Oh, hello, Julie. It's been so long since I've heard from you. Thank you so much for sending me a message. And I just wanted to start with a huge congratulations on your engagement. I think this is so special, and I'm really proud of you. Great. If you're really proud of me and grateful for the invite, then you can go ahead and bring me $10,000 as a wedding present. I mean, you would not believe how expensive it is to throw a wedding. But of course, since you're my mom, you will give me that money, right? I'm sorry. You want me to give you $10,000 for the wedding? Well, I suppose I could try and muster up that amount. Well, Dad told me that you were working right now. Is that right? He also told me that you're married and having some other man take care of you like how Dad used to. Well, I sure hope that you're happy with your new family, Mom. Honey, I'm not sure I like the way that you're making all of that sound. But yes, if you must know, I do have a new family, and they do make me very happy. Great! Well, since you've remarried, that means you should be able to give me even more money then, right? So, how about you give me $20,000 instead? I'm sorry to say, Julie, but I work so that I can contribute to my family's expenses. I'm not sure that even if I asked my husband to pitch in, that we would be able to raise that much money to give to you. After all, we have a son here and he's getting married as well, so we've been going our best to save up for his wedding as well. Wait a second, do you really? Well, this is news to me, but he isn't actually your son, isn't that right? He's just your husband's kid from a previous marriage. So, are you trying to tell me that you're really going to put this total rando's wedding before your own daughter's? Are you really going to say that this guy's kid is more important than your own flesh and blood? I'm not trying to say that at all, and I'm not really sure that's a fair comparison, Julie. Besides, I frankly didn't even think that you even really thought of me as a mother figure. In fact, I was quite surprised to hear that you wanted to invite me to your wedding at all. Well, it isn't like I had any choice in the matter. Like, really, I mean, could you imagine how bad it would make me look if my own mother wasn't at my wedding? I don't want to have to explain to everyone how my parents split up and why they couldn't come together for just one day. So you'd be saving me a lot of trouble by showing up. I see. Well, either way, I just want you to know that I still am very happy at your invitation to the wedding. After all, I know that you and I have never really gotten along how a mother and daughter usually might. And I was worried that you really hated me. Well, all of that happened a long time ago, so I just don't really think about it all that much. Although, now that you say this, I do remember that even though you were a housewife, you never kept the house clean like you should have. I remember even when I was little, I could tell you that you were just a bad wife. It was so embarrassing to think that I had actually come from you. I was sure that there had to be some mistake, but there wasn't, and so I'm inviting you now. Well, I guess I can't say anything except that I'm glad you still wanted to include me in your big day. Right. Yeah. Anyways, you had better be there at my wedding for me, Mom. I have a really amazing fiancé who makes a ton of money, and I don't want anything going wrong, okay? Yes, of course, dear. I'm so happy that you found someone who makes you happy. Yeah. Anyways, you should also know that nobody knows that you and Dad are actually divorced. I've just been telling everyone that you spent a lot of time overseas on business trips. So don't forget about that when you're introducing yourself to everyone. Got it? Sure. I can play along with that, I guess. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Hey, Kenny, are you there? I'm really, really sorry to have to do this, but I just don't think that I'm going to be able to make it to the wedding today after all.
Wait, what? What are you talking about? How could you say this? I thought that you were happy to be invited and get to see your daughter. You have to come to the wedding today. You said that you would. You can't just try to get out of it now. What's the matter with you? What are you trying to pull here?
Well, the thing is that the day Julie is getting married is actually the same day that my son is getting married. And anyways, I just think that I'm going to be at my son's wedding and not Julie's.
Hold on a second. Are you trying to tell me that you were really going to pick some random kid's wedding to go over your own daughter's? This is Julie we're talking about. You literally gave birth to her.
Really that, but at the same time, she has been the source of a lot of pain for me, as I'm sure that you know. And I don't really want to go to a wedding where I'm going to have to pretend to be the mother that I never was to her. So I hope that you can understand where I'm coming from when I say that I simply just won't be able to make it.
You think this is about you? This has nothing to do with you at all. How could you be this selfish? We are talking about the daughter that you literally carried inside of you for 9 months. Not only that, but the man she is marrying is extremely rich. He's the son of the owner of the Brunswick Real Estate Company.
Wait, hold on a second. What do you mean by that? Is he really?
Of course he is. How dare you even doubt the caliber of a man that a woman like Julie would be able to land as her husband? This is why you have to be there at a wedding.
But there must be some kind of mistake. I mean, why would Julie be marrying him?
There has been a huge mistake if you think that you're going to get away with missing something like this. So you better be there. Hey, just what the heck do you think you're doing with the groom side of the family, huh? What's going on here?
What are you talking about? I'm here on the groom side of the family because I'm the mother of the groom. In fact, you have some nerve sending a message like that to me when you spilled your wine all over my dress.
You aren't making any sense at all. I want you to explain yourself right now. Just what were you thinking, getting up to give a speech after you've been doused in wine?
You know, I don't think I'll ever be able to forget the look on your face as you were piecing it all together after I stood up to speak. But I've already made what happened between us very clear to everyone at the wedding. And just like I said, the wedding is off.
No, you can't do this to us. You can't just cancel the wedding. Take it back right now. Julie was looking forward to this for so long. You can't just rob us of this.
I'm sorry, Kenny, but if you're looking for anyone to blame, how about you start with yourself? I saw how you were looking at me when I walked into the venue. You look like a little kid trying really poorly to hide a big secret. I should have known you would have tried what you were going to do when you threw that wine on me. But I controlled my anger and decided to stay.
But why would you even stay? I thought that you were going to show up for us and that I would be able to drive you out and humiliate you in front of everyone.
Yes, well, after you did that, I talked to my husband and he said that I should mention your little prank in my speech. And so I did just that. I got up with a dress soaked in wine and I told everyone all about what you had done to me. After all, I was literally wearing the evidence.
So you mean this was your plan the whole time? You were always going to try and sabotage the wedding like this?
Of course not. I would never come to a wedding with the intention to do something like that. Although, I must say that I'm surprised at how fast you work. After all, even though I told you I wasn't going to make it to Julie's wedding, you still managed to find a stand-in mother.
But, I mean, you said that you weren't going to be here. We needed to find someone to sit in and pretend to be Julie's mom. Of course we arranged to have a fake mom here.
No, that isn't it, and I know it. I know that you've been with this woman for a while. Even while we were married.
Wait, what? What do you mean? How did you know that? Who told you? Huh?
Actually, she was the one who came up to me. She recognized me from when we were both together. She told me all about how long you two had been together and that I shouldn't have come here. She even told me to leave.
Damn that woman. What in the world is she thinking? Trying to do something like that?
Oh, please. The only reason you wanted me here at the wedding in the first place was so that you can try and get money from me. But did you really think that I was going to just come to this wedding just like that, after all the horrible things you did to me?
Oh, who cares about that? You should have just wanted to come to this wedding anyways. It's your daughter getting married. Doesn't that mean anything to you?
So I should have looked forward to a wedding where you were just going to continue to abuse me? But don't worry, even my husband's family knows all about what a horrible family Julie comes from.
Why did you have to go and talk to them about us? What's the matter with you? I mean, I still can't believe that you actually married to that guy. I had no idea that you two were together.
I think it's funny that you thought my husband was ever going to let his son get married to such awful people.
Well, we would have gotten away with it if you didn't ruin this for us. Please, you have to do something to fix this. Your husband is saying that the engagement is off. You have to stop him. Please, you have to talk to him and set this all straight for us. You're the only one that can help us.
If you ask me, that's exactly what you deserve, you jerks. Anyways, have a nice life. Just don't interfere with mine anymore. After that, Kenny and Julie both tried to apologize to me, but I wasn't having any of it at all. They walked right up to me in the venue and got on their knees to beg my forgiveness. But I just looked at my husband and son and said that I would be going home early for the day. Later at home, I was able to tell my family all about the kinds of things that I had to go through while living with Kenny. I never really opened up about my last marriage, but it seemed as good a time as any to, given the circumstances. My husband was sitting next to me the whole time, holding my hand, while I detailed all of my experiences. When I finished speaking, all my son could say was that he was sure glad he dodged that bullet. Then he said how grateful he was that I'd come into his life. Of course, I'm sad that my son's marriage fell apart the way that it did, but given who he was marrying, the marriage wasn't meant to last anyways. As for me, I'm just happy to have found such a supportive family and a new home. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to see more content like this.
I'm going to assume this is your phone number then, Willa? This is Rowan's father, Jeffrey. He gave me your phone number just a little bit ago, and that's why I'm able to text you now. There's something I'd like to ask you right now before you and him get too carried away with wanting to get married. Would you be willing to give me a bit of your time right now?
This is Rowan's dad? Well, you were given the right number because this is indeed me. I'm so happy to finally have a chance to talk with you, though. Go ahead and ask me anything. I hope that whatever it is you may be interested in, I can help you understand.
I heard that you happened to graduate from college and everything like that. Should I believe that to be a fact then?
Yes, you should. I graduated from the University of Michigan, actually, and went there and got a bachelor's, but after graduating, I decided to work in emergency services as an EMT.
I see. Then that should mean there are no issues with your educational background.
I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you're wanting to ask me about today?
How were you raised by your parents before you entered the University of Michigan? Of course, you graduated from high school and everything like that, but what was your GPA coming out of there and what did you score on your SAT?
So you want to know about my education before university as well? When I graduated from high school, I had a GPA of 3.7. But when it came to my SAT, I ended up scoring a 1550 on it first time I took it. That's partially why I was able to get into the university in the first place.
So that would mean you completed all of your studies and were able to put all of the knowledge you learned to the test in order to get into that university?
What do you mean by that? Of course I had to use all the knowledge I had gained from my studies in high school to get into college there. Did you think I had some kind of a connection or something? Nobody in my family had ever been there before me, nor did I have any friends there. The only thing that made me different from a lot of the other students that were accepted is that the high school I went to is managed by the university.
What? So you were bound to be accepted into the university. I wouldn't claim that you got into that school with your own strengths then. There's a chance then that a lot of the people you were going to school with back in high school weren't all too smart. Not something I'd be proud of if I were you.
What? I'm sure that could be true. I'm sorry if I was sounding arrogant in any way there.
So, does that mean you've been going to private schools all your life?
What? Private schools? I'm sorry, but both the elementary school and the middle school that I went to were public. And some could even argue that the high school I was going to was public. I was going to whatever schools were in the town I grew up in at the time.
What? So you're saying you were going to such low-level schools? It's one thing to be proud of the fact that you got to go to the University of Michigan for 4 years and graduate from there, but if your time in primary school was all spent in a public school, I can't believe you would be all right saying something like that to me.
Is going to public school back then really something to be surprised about?
In other words, your parents didn't have enough money to send you to a private school. Or could it be that you weren't smart enough for those schools?
Hold on. Back in the town where I was from, there was no private schools besides the Catholic school, but I didn't really need to go there back then. Actually, the public school system in that town is rated as one of the top public school systems in the state. And everyone from there all went to the same schools together. We all stuck together from elementary school all the way to high school. That was normal for us. And I kind of thought going to public school was a normal thing for everyone.
I see. So that's the kind of family and town you were raised in. Are you still living together with the both of your parents right now?
No, actually, when I started to go to college, I began living on my own. And I started to go out with your son not too long after, when one of our friends introduced us to one another. Since we've both been pretty far away from you and your wife, Rowan has never really been able to show me to either one of you. And, well, now that we're out of school and engaged to each other, we thought it was time for me to finally go out and meet with you. Hence why we made the plans for me to come with him to your guys' house, which I'm very excited about, since that'll be in a few days.
Is that right? Well, considering that you did graduate from a university that's pretty well known and are currently working for a company that's also pretty well known, I'll allow you to come over to our house and see my wife and I. But there are some things about you that I can't quite lay my finger on just yet. I have a lot more that I'd like to talk with you about when you come to see us, so make sure you're ready for some long discussions with my wife and I.
Okay, I'll make sure to get some rest then. I look forward to seeing both you and your wife in a few days.
You really make such big deals out of nothing. A little bit over dramatic, are we? All I did was give you a soft punch and you've had to run off and hide in the bathroom? I knew that a woman such as yourself would not be fit for a son like mine.
That was a soft punch to you? My jaw is completely stiff now, and there's a massive gash on the inside of my cheek. There is still a bunch of blood coming out of my mouth, and the pain is really radiating into my skull. Why would you do something like this?
Why would I? I'm sure you already know why, right? You think I was going to let my son, the son of a family of well-renowned police officers, marry a disgraceful, motherless child?
I can't believe you'd say that. My dad has done everything he could to make sure that I was raised just like everyone else who has their mom still. I don't think you should be talking poorly about either one of us.
Is it painful for you to be punched? Are you going to cry and whine about how it was unfair of me to punch you like that? Go ahead, give your worthless father a call and bring him out here. Cry, Papa! Papa, help me! Tell him that you're in trouble with the police now.
Is that what you'd like me to do? So be it. I guess I will give my dad a call. I'll make sure that he makes an example out of you, Jeffrey.
Oh, go ahead and call his ass out here right now. I bet all he's good at is using his body to work some kind of labor-intensive job, right? Does he even have a brain up there? Go ahead, have him come out here because I want to see what kind of muscular dumbass your father is. Just make sure he knows the moment he even tries to inflict any violence towards me, he's gonna get shot.
I think you should cut the childish behavior of looking down on others like that out right now.
What just happened there? I am so sorry about. I never thought that your father would end up being the chief of the state police.
I told your husband what would happen, that my dad would be coming out here to make a very good example out of him. Sure, my dad may be very large and muscular, but thankfully these days he's a bit more relaxed after having left the military. But did you guys not stop to think that perhaps my dad was the real deal and could actually do something about your husband's actions?
I didn't think your father would be. I didn't think that the chief of the state police would be coming to our house today. As part of our family of renowned police officers, I am so happy to have him here. And thinking now that the daughter of the chief of the state police will be getting married to our son, now that both my husband and I are aware of who your father is, we have no problem with you marrying our son. Please, tell your father that we are looking forward to seeing him again and talking more in depth about your guys' marriage.
Amanda, I don't understand how you can say such a thing like that now, after your husband just got taken away by the state police. Just as my dad said, all of your family who are working for the city's police force will now be relieved of your duties and forced to find other work. Do you understand what that means for you, Amanda? That means you can no longer sit there acting as though you're tough crap, just because some of your family has been on the city's police force all their life.
I'm sure that we could do something. What my husband did to you, punching you in the face, was his fault, as he didn't consult with anyone else before doing such a thing. The rest of us have nothing to do with his choices, so please, don't let your father do this to us. To have all of us fired together like that, please tell me that he was just joking about all of that.
You're making it look like the family never cared for your husband at all and are completely fine with tossing him out. But I saw everything, Amanda. The rest of you didn't step in to do anything about your husband when he struck me. You all just stood back and watched it happen. And you, Amanda, you stood there smiling and laughing through your nose. And when I hit the ground and let out a scream, you started to laugh even more before realizing that the blood from inside my mouth was falling onto your carpet. Then you began to yell at me, not your husband, about the blood staining your precious carpeting. And what was it you said before I ran off? Don't stain my carpet with your dirty lowlife blood. You were the one that said that to me as I scrambled back up and ran off. And as I wobbled left to right trying to make it down the hallway, you stood there laughing.
Because then you weren't the daughter of the chief of the state police to me. I didn't know any better then. I assumed you were nothing more than the scum my family arrest all the time, and thought it would fit the atmosphere to laugh. But soon after, your father showed up in a state police cop car.
That's right. He sure did make an entrance, didn't he? And when I stepped out to see how shocked all of you were from seeing my dad, I was entertained. I never thought that us humans could make such a face that could show just how scared we really were.
Willa, of course I've learned my lesson, but so has my husband. That is why. Can you please go to your father and let him know that we are both very, very sorry for the way we behaved today?
Sorry for the way you behaved? Tell me, why would you be sorry for that? I thought you both intentionally acted like that, knowing very well what you were doing to me.
Because we didn't know at the time that my husband was punching the daughter of the chief of the state police. And due to our misunderstandings, we said some very immature things to you about yourself and your father. I want you and your father to both know that, had we known you were his daughter, something like this would have never, ever happened to you.
Don't you find what you said just a little odd? Does that mean if I weren't the daughter of the chief of the state police, your husband punishing me would have been warranted? That's what you just said to me, right? That's why you thought it was okay to laugh at me after being assaulted and told me to get my blood off your carpet, right?
No, wait. I said that was, my family is a family of renowned police officers, which means we wanted to make sure our son would be married to someone of a similar background. That's why when you said you were raised by your single father, we didn't think you would be a good enough wife for our son.
Is that right? Well, I guess everyone has their own way of thinking, don't they? That would mean that your family's way of thinking and my family's way of thinking are completely different from one another. Just like my dad was saying, you all need to be punished for your actions immediately.
Why, Willa? Don't you still love our son to the point that you want to marry him? I'm telling you that you're allowed to marry him now if you'd like. So shouldn't you be trying to flatter us in some way now?
About what I think about your son now, you're better off just forgetting that I ever was in love with him. I mean, that love that I had for him waking up this morning is all gone now, thanks to that punch your husband landed on me.
What? What do you mean by that?
I meant exactly what I just said. Did you see your son today doing anything to come and help me after my jaw was punched and I was bleeding everywhere? Tell me right now, what did he do to protect me from his mom and dad? Did he do something for me even? No, I don't think he did jack. Actually, the one thing he did do was smile and laugh along with you, so that you guys wouldn't get upset with him.
He just acted like that because our family is very strict. And when it comes to his father, what he says goes, which means that if my husband wasn't happy with you at all, neither was my son. He knew at the time there wouldn't be a chance of marrying you anymore, so there was no need for him to help protect you.
And since that's the case, I don't give a damn about your son anymore. Now he's gone and really upset me because instead of even showing a little bit of care for me by asking if I was okay, he just stood there listening to and agreeing with you both. And right before your husband punched me, what did your son say again? What did Rowan say? Why didn't you tell me earlier that your dad was a single parent? That right there really pissed me off, but I couldn't show that anger because the next thing I knew, my lights were knocked out for a couple of seconds.
There was no helping that. He was just as shocked as the rest of us were. And now you're saying you won't marry him because of that? Are you really that picky of a woman?
Yes, I am actually. Because if I were to go ahead and still marry a man whom which I know despises me, who knows what would happen between us later on? You really think I'm going to be that stupid? That's why I'm backing down from marrying him now. And thank God I learned about the true Rowan now before it was too late.
No way. There's no way this could be happening.
Yeah, seriously. There's no way something like this could have happened. Getting punched in the face just because my dad is a single parent. And it's not like I was trying to hide that from anyone anyway. Nobody ever really asked about my parents, even Rowan, so I never talked about them. And now, after really putting some thought into all of this, your son must have never really been into me that much anyway. I think he just wanted to marry me because he's young and found me to be his easiest option after college.
That's not all true. Hey, we all share some roots in things like the police force, so you have to understand what was going through our minds, right? We can get over all of this together and act as though nothing serious ever happened. I think we can all laugh about this in the future. So please, Willa, find some way to go to your father and let him know that we're all sorry and would like him to forgive us.
No. What you should have been starting with is an apology for punching me in the face. I was punched in the jaw by a man 3 times my size, and that threw me 5 feet into your wall and onto the floor. My jaw is still not able to move without serious pain, and the inside of my cheek is so badly cut up that it'll need some stitches. From what I can see, my jaw is probably broken, and that's why it keeps throbbing so badly. I'm telling you right now that I will be taking your husband to court and winning a settlement from him.
I think what he did, he took things way too far then. But you were the one that never told any of us before that your father is a single parent, right? Also, you never told anyone about the fact that your father is the chief of the state police. There were plenty of very important things you forgot to tell us, or chose not to mention, that got us into this predicament, right?
I see here that I can no longer talk with you people.
You people?
I told you none of you ever asked me about my parents or about what my dad does. You all just assumed one thing or another and went with it, basing all your choices of it. And what the hell is so wrong with me not having a mom around anyway? It's a pretty common thing these days, so I would never actually try to hide it from anyone. It was just something that never got brought up. I mean, if you all really cared that much about someone else's parents, why didn't you start by asking me about them a long time ago? I think before you started any of this BS, you maybe should have wondered why you cared so much when your son isn't anything special. He's just your basic office worker, for crying out loud. You never saw my dad or I complaining about him, right? If you want to blame someone for all of this, start with your son, who is a complete idiot and never really showed any interest in my family in the first place.
Excuse me?
My dad is pissed that his only child was just punched in the face by a man who claims to be a renowned police officer. If my dad wasn't in a higher position than you all, I wonder how things would be playing out for me right now. For my dad, right now, I hope that my dad does everything in his power to make sure you all learn from what you've done today. Now, if y'all have any more complaints about what's happening next, take it up with my dad instead of me, please. I'm cutting ties to you all now and will no longer bother with any of you.
Long time no see, Willa. The reason why I'm talking with you again after so long is because I have something to ask from you.
Who are you again?
I'm your previous fiancé's father, Jeffrey. I'm sorry for all the troubles that I had caused for you back then. So very sorry.
And what would you like from me now? I have a scar across the bottom of my jaw and had to spend 2 months drinking my food. It was one hell of a time after that surgery. Have you finally found the pair of balls you dropped years ago that will allow you to apologize to me? After that day, I have never heard anything from you about being sorry.
Ever since that day, I have felt so sorry for what I'd done and regret every bit of it. After that, I was forced to step down from my position on the police force and was taken into custody by the state police. After that, I never had the time to ever get in touch with you again because I had so much going on myself.
Tell me why you're messaging me now then. What could you possibly want with your victim of assault years after the incident?
I understand that it's been a couple of years now since all of that, unfortunately, went down. And that's why I would like to properly apologize to you now for it.
That's not at all why you're texting me, Jeffrey. You just told me you had something to ask of me, right? A favor? I don't remember you guys ever being so well behaved, so of course, there is something more to all of this. So, what do you want from me?
My son, Rowan, he was arrested for molesting someone.
What? Wait, are you kidding me?
It seems that he had this sudden impulse or something. He had always been raised to respect the law, considering this whole family is known for being in the police force. But after I was arrested, perhaps he lost faith or something in the system. Recently, I was always wondering why he seemed very off, like he no longer trusted anyone.
Absolute pile of trash, isn't he? I must have been in a really dangerous place going out with him and getting engaged to him. To think I was this close to becoming the wife of a molester? So I can see you got over your pride and managed to tell me that about your boy. What do you want from me?
Being arrested over something like molestation, that's something that is not taken well at all in this world. If he were to be charged with that in court soon, he would have that on his permanent record for life, and that would ruin any chance of succeeding in life for him. So I thought that maybe somehow, with the help of your father's power in... Do you think you could get your father to remove the charges that are being held against him?
Huh? You are really the scum of the earth, aren't you? I'm not doing that crap for you. I won't. I can't. And I have no reason to.
Don't say something like that, please, Willa. Just this. Please, just do something about this. I don't think my son did anything wrong to begin with. He was just trying to go out with you and make plans for marriage at the time. Had I never stepped in the way of that dream he had, then right now he'd be married to the daughter of the chief of the state police. My whole family of police officers would all be on top of the world with the help of your father's status. But because of the needless crap that I pulled years ago...
Well, what do you know? You seem to have finally come around to blaming yourself. Well, you're right. That is why everything in your life is all screwed up now. Had you never used and abused your name as a renowned police officer, then you all would be living pretty decent lives and not have to be worried about your son, the molester. I'm sure you guys would even be considered some of the state's finest.
And I don't think it's too late for us just yet. If you and your father help us here, we won't ever bite back at you guys like we'd done again. We will do everything you guys say, so please do something to help us here.
From all the crap I've heard coming out of your mouth, not one bit of it was worth my time. Also, I don't think my dad or I can see any possible reason to stick our neck out for you guys when there's nothing in it for either of us.
We can make something work. I'll make sure my son repays you both in some way.
We don't have a need for whatever your son has to offer us. Molesting someone is a very serious offense and will land him in jail, I presume. Why did you think that begging a stranger to help you bail him out would work in your favor? And why did you think something like touching another person's body without their permission was a crime my dad would be fine with overlooking? Perhaps it's because you're a prejudiced man that doesn't understand us women. But even if your disgusting son was pardoned from his crimes or bailed out by my dad, everyone would still know about what he's done as it's on the news, and not a single woman would want to be with him. I just looked what happened up, by the way, and the girl Rowan touched was 16. Do you know how scared she must have been when that happened to her? I think your son is going to either be paying her a lot of money for what he done, or rotting away in prison for touching an underage girl. Most likely both.
But it was really just a sudden urge.
And so what? I thought you all worked for the police before. Did you all just let robbers, killers, and molesters get away because they said it was just a sudden urge? He should not be forgiven for what he's done, that pile of crap, and you should be forced to suffer some more alongside him. I could send screenshots of this conversation to both my dad and the judge right now, and we'd see what happens to you.
My son has really learned that what he'd done was wrong, though. That's why, just this one time, I'm asking you to...
I don't give a damn. That freak needs to pay for his disgusting crimes. That's how this stuff works. Sure, he may feel bad for what he's done now, but he has not been punished yet, and he won't be a changed man until that punishment has been inflicted upon him. And one last thing. If Rowan was wanting to feel up another girl like that so badly, then maybe he should make some money and hire a prostitute. Why do you think there are women out there making so much money doing things like that? Because there are plenty of freaks like your son that need their fix.
No way. I understand. I get that my son is a freak now, but ever since that day your dad came to our house, we've been at a loss. My son was forced to get himself a new job working part-time, and his pride was ruined. And myself, I had to lose my job as a police officer and serve time for what I did to you. Without me, my son had to go through that hard time alone, and that's what led to him committing such a filthy crime.
Everyone goes through hard times, you dick, but not everyone goes out and molest others because of it. I don't care how hard it may have been on you guys, you all deserved what you got. So stop acting like you guys don't deserve all that you've gotten, because you're not the victims. You're all the criminals that my dad has been working so hard to get rid of, and I will not step in and jeopardize his mission.
We didn't mean to. I'm really so sorry.
I really do not have the time to care about your bullcrap anymore, Jeffrey. You all being complete idiots is not something I'm responsible for. You were all raised to think what you were doing was okay, so now you're going to have to deal with the outcome of your actions. I don't think any of you guys deserve to be on the street anymore, to be honest, thinking that you are the victims of everything when it doesn't benefit you. I hope you and your family of scum go and rot in hell for the rest of time. Rowan soon had a name made for himself as the disgusting molester child of his ex-police officer family. His dad could do nothing for him, and he was forced to wait in his jail cell until the day of his trial, where he'd have to go up and face that girl he touched on the bus. Jeffrey was also going through a lot at the time he was texting me last, since he had only gotten out of prison himself a week or two earlier, after being sent there for punching me. His wife Amanda was still around, but had to pick up the slack while he was away, making money working 3 jobs, and the rest of the family had cut ties to them after they were too taken off by the police force. As for what happened with myself, a few years back after being assaulted, I went to the ER and had my surgery done the next day to fix my jaw, and there I found who would become my husband in the future. My surgeon, and thanks to our paths crossing in the hospital, I now have myself a very kind man that, unlike Rowan, will always have my back no matter what. Thinking back on the family of Jeffrey, I really do take pride in what my dad has to do, because if it wasn't for him being in such a high position, then who knows what could have happened between myself and that family then.